This is that one.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back. Huge day for the market. What's up, Nerve? Audit, Mr. Robinson, Glenny, CLF is cashing. It was up. I was just talking about it actually in a call. It was up 6% today. I know you were talking about that last night. B. Johnson, me, Tenderfoot, Vibes, great day, champ. Great info all day in the Discord. Glad to hear that. AK, what's up? The new technical analyst in the Discord. How you doing? So yeah, today was crazy for the market. I'm gonna be honest right away. Today was a bad day for me. You're probably thinking, what? Today was like the best day for the market in a long time. And I played puts. Yeah. So we're gonna focus on everything apart from me tonight. Well, I just wanted to start off with that, and it's all good. It's all good. There's a lot of optimistic things on a lot of charts, so it's cool. And yeah, we're gonna get started with crypto. After that, I'm gonna be talking about other markets. I feel like this music is still loud. Talk about some other markets. Energy is looking really interesting. We were just talking about CLF in the chat, Lenny, and crude oil testing a breakout, and then there was something else. The swings are pretty much there's not one swing out of the 20 swings I've alerted recently that's negative right now, which is cool. Everything's pretty cool right now. Let's talk about what's going on and what could continue to happen. KTF saying I would like to forget today too. B. Johnson saying the pullback that never came. Yeah, this is what I call autopilot mode. If you watch the stream, it's this term I use to describe days like today where it's just floating up and up and up and up, where it's like you don't even get like one little pullback, just kind of autopilot. So we'll get to all of that. We also have Netflix earnings from after hours today, Tesla earnings tomorrow. Next week we have, you know, like Alphabet, pretty much all the big earnings. I mean, you can take a look at it really quickly. And there's something on top of that next week, which is what we're going to kind of be talking about tonight. But next week we have Alphabet, Microsoft, Coke, Visa on Tuesday. Wednesday we have Meta, Ford, Shopify, Qualcomm. Thursday next week we have Apple, Amazon, Roku, Intel. It's a huge week for earnings. And these 2 days, the 26th and the 27th, are also an FOMC meeting, I believe. So with everything that's going on the charts for now, all of these catalysts for next week, we are setting up, in my opinion, for craziness in the market. So let's get started. Let's start off with crypto. You watched last night's stream, I was talking about this breakout on Bitcoin, and well, it's a very good start. So Bitcoin broke out of this falling wedge yesterday. You can see this trend line over here. Broke out of that. Nice spike today. It was up about 4%. The swing trade on Bitcoin is up about 11% since I alerted it. And the first target is at 25.3K pretty much. We're about halfway there, it looks like. Hopefully it gets there. The hard work has already been done. So that's good. And also, if we take a look at this 4 hour, this was like the one bearish argument we talked about last night, the potential for this bear flag. But look at this, all right, breaking a bear flag to the upside. It's pretty rare, but that's what it's doing because of the daily. And this is what I was saying, I think last night on stream. The higher time frames just look so much better to me that I'm not worried about like lower time frame bear flags and stuff, at least for right now. And it looks like it's already getting invalidated. So good start. The Bitcoin swing is up 11%. The Ethereum swing is already heavily outperformed. The Bitcoin one, that's already hit its first target for 32% gain. And currently, since I alerted Ethereum, it's up about 36%. And yeah, I mean, it broke this resistance over here at 1300 and just went straight up after that, kind of consolidating a little bit right now. This music is just really loud in my ear. And it looks like the next resistance for ETH is around 1700 from these lows over here in May. So that's the next resistance. In terms of support, all the way down pretty much at what it just broke out of, around 1300. And then moving on to the altcoin trades really quickly. There's really no technical changes. I'm just going to give an update on how these swing trades are doing. Litecoin is up about 4% since I alerted it on Sunday. Chainlink up 14% since the alert on Sunday. And then OXT is making a nice little move right now. It's up 9% since the alert. So as of right now, Bitcoin, Litecoin, actually no, Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Chainlink, and OXT, none of them can be failed trades. They're already all of them are already up over 10% since the entry. So worst case scenario, they fall back to the entry. I'm just gonna mark them as a break even. Litecoin's not up 10% since the entry yet, so this still could be a failed trade, but we'll see what happens. And of course, Ethereum already hit its target. So that's the quick crypto update. Everything's looking good there. Let's talk about some other markets before we talk about stocks. The US 10-year still kind of looks like it's just, I mean, the context is just perfect. I mean, it was going up, outperforming all these stocks and everything, global markets, and now that the market's starting to test this breakout, it's starting to form this head and shoulders pattern, which is how a lot of trends can reverse. So I'm still very cautious about the US 10-year here. I think that if you can't get above 3.10, I mean, this is the type of pattern that can reverse a trend. It's very early. You still have the bullish divergence on the MACD to worry about. I mean, if you want it to go up, then I guess you're not worrying about it. But it is something that I'm still keeping an eye on. Moving on to energy really quickly. Take a look at this. We were talking about this last night. Kind of messy. Broke under the 200 moving average. That kind of tripped me out a little bit, but now you're back above it. And XLE has reclaimed its support back from March and April. Bullish engulfing candle today. Kind of like a double bottom around the 200-day moving average. A lot of energy stocks look very similar to this chart. Okay, they had a very quick move up in April and May and a very quick move down in June. Maybe they could be rallying shortly here. I mean, some of them already are. We'll see what happens. But we'll get back to energy stocks later in the stream. And if you remember, it was I think 2 weeks ago or something like that, when I showed all of you on stream that I was keeping an eye on X and CLF as two tickers to keep an eye on. It was kind of around the same prices. It went a little bit lower first, but there's your breakout on X, and then on CLF, CLF is actually testing a breakout right now. It has earnings soon, so keep an eye on that. Same for X. So they both have earnings soon, but classic bullish divergence on both charts and breaking out of these channels and reclaiming supports. I mean, those are a lot of variables that I look for. So that's energy really quickly. Metals, really no change today, just still at the lows. The dollar currency index continuing to pull back. This was another one. If you've been watching the stream, literally up over here, I was talking about the classic bearish divergence, saying it might be time just for a little bit of a blow off the top, pull back. That's what we're seeing right now. I say next support is around 106 from this high you put in on June 15th. And then resistance is your current high around 109.3. Still, a long-term uptrend. I just think right now it just looks like a pullback. We'll see if things change over time. The Hang Seng Index, maybe a little bit of a back test state today for some Chinese stocks after breaking out of that wedge yesterday. And those are your global / other markets. Let's talk about what's going on in the stock market in the US, which is absolutely huge. So obviously, it's staring all of us right in the face. You have this humongous wedge and you're breaking out of it. You closed above the trend line for the first time ever since this wedge was created. And one thing I also like about this, and there's a key difference here, is that you're actually on there's multiple things I want to talk about here. But the first thing is you're actually, for now, holding volume, which is very important. Because if we zoom out, right? If we zoom out a little bit, let me delete this and rechart it. We zoom out and we take a look at all the times where the market pretty much put in a short-term top. This is something I talk about on the stream all the time. It's typically when you're losing the volume that happens. All right. However, on this move up right over here, you really haven't lost volume. You've actually kept your volume. And that's the first time I think this year that we've seen a move up for the market where you weren't losing volume the higher you go. You actually had more volume today than you did yesterday. Pretty much the same amount of volume as you had last Friday. So that's a really good sign in my opinion, especially when you're testing a breakout. You do not want to be losing volume when you're testing a breakout. So you're keeping the volume. And honestly, the stream is titled Stock Market Surprise Breakout. I did not think we would get here today. I was very surprised, first of all, when I woke up and the market gapped up. And then on top of that, I was very surprised, and this is why I was playing puts, and I told you all it didn't work out too well for me. I was very surprised that we went up literally the whole entire day. I mean, there was multiple times where you broke intraday demand lines, and I had to rechart this so many different times, and really just none of it mattered. It just didn't matter. And that's really what happens when we go into autopilot mode. And that's what brought the market all the way up to this level. So that's really where you're at. That's the volume, that's the wedge breakout, but there's something else, of course. There always is. And now this is something that I'm going to find this clip for tomorrow night's stream. But towards the end of June, I basically had this one stream where I was saying, I think a lot of stuff is lining up for the earnings season at the end of July, and I also want to see a consolidation phase for the market. This is what I was talking about on that stream. I'm going to pull up the clip tomorrow night. Really no point in doing it tonight, or I didn't do it already. So we were kind of seeing the same trend on every single leg of this, or every single leg of this bear market so far, where we would just get these bear flags. All right, we would just get these bear flags, and then we dump again. And pretty much during the bear flags, we would lose our volume. It was like the same exact thing over and over again. And this time, it's very different in my opinion. And this is what I was saying when we were like over here, and it started to look like a bear flag again. This is what I was saying that I wanted to see, and actually we have that right now. Instead of just kind of rising straight up and losing volume on the way up, what do we do for the last almost month? We've really just been going sideways. It's kind of one large range between 370 and 390. So instead of just kind of floating up and losing volume, you went sideways and you kept volume. So this is the first time you've done that this whole entire year. In my opinion, this just shows that the bears have lost a certain level of control. I mean, even yesterday when we had a bearish engulfing candle and we dipped down and we had this little gap to fill around like 379, the bears couldn't even get that filled today before we went even higher. So we are not seeing a bear flag on this move up for the market. We're actually seeing a consolidation zone. It could kind of be argued as an area of accumulation for the market. And now you're actually testing a breakout to the upside, and you have gap fills above and not a lot of resistance apart from that. So that's very good to me. In terms of what I'm looking for the next couple of days, well, first off, we have to kind of look at the 1 hour. You can see this range that I was just talking about. You're breaking out of it. You also do have a little bit of 1 hour classic bearish divergence. So the one thing I am looking for, and again, off of our lows on July 14th, we are up about 6% in 6 days, which is quite a bit. I would like to see a back test. The thing is, you kind of have been going straight up, and also there's not much resistance in this. Well, I mean, do it a little bit cleaner. In this zone right here, there's just not much resistance. It's a pretty open area. Should this autopilot mode continue, there's just not a lot of, if we're going to be using like flight analogies, there's not a lot of turbulence in this area, okay? But what I would like to say, maybe even first, and again, this probably is going to depend on how we react to some earnings, but maybe a back test before going higher. It's just, I get a little bit anxious when we go literally straight up without any pullbacks. But at the same time, it could be argued, and I literally just realized this as I was speaking, that we did have that pullback yesterday. And not only did we have that, and this was something I was keeping an eye on this morning, which I should have listened to my inner self speaking this, but that's kind of a partial decline. This is what we always talk about. Whenever you have a range or a pattern and you're kind of ping-ponging in between both levels, whenever you're unable to go back down to the opposite level, that creates a partial decline or rise. If it's bullish, it's going to be a decline because you only partially declined. If it's bearish, it's going to be a rise because in that scenario, which is pretty much the opposite of this, you would have only partially risen, right? So that kind of already set you up for that move today. A lot of volume into the close as well. The final hour of the day was the highest volume on the S&P 500 of the month on the 1 hour chart, I believe. Well, at least since like the first of the month. So that's really where you're at for the S&P 500. Also, we've been talking about this 4 hour triangle, and I did say last night that I didn't think it was going to break out until we got some earnings. This actually already broke out before even Netflix earnings today. It broke out intraday, so that also just shows that we didn't even need like an earnings catalyst for the market to kind of break out of this wedge. It just did it, or well, the traders and all the market participants did it. So that's the S&P 500 testing this breakout. We'll see what happens. Again, back test, pullback on lower time frames is kind of what's starting to signal to me. But as long as that's not too drastic, I think the higher time frames are setting up for this major breakout. And yeah, let's talk about some tech now. The QQQ is testing a big area. It did, and this is a kind of talk we've been having, the difference between the longer term bullish pattern, this falling wedge, and the shorter term bearish pattern, this bear flag. So far, and thankfully, because we were able to hold this level that I was screaming at the top of my lungs about last week, you actually are still out of the wedge. And even if, let's just say we forget about this bear flag for a second, we just look at the wedge, broke out of a wedge, and then not only did you break out of it, but you actually flipped the resistance into a support and then went higher. So you do have a break hook and go set up, which is why I really care less about this bear flag for right now. I think the only way at this point that we break down from this bear flag is if we have a horrible earnings season. And the one thing about earnings is a lot of these, and this is something I was also talking about earlier when I had a call with Champ's Inner Circle. If you were watching the streams a couple weeks ago, you know what that is. There was already a lot of bad guidance or kind of just expectations lowered for this quarter from a lot of companies. And also, it could be argued on a lot of these stocks as well that bad earnings are already priced in with everything that's happened in the market from a macro standpoint. And also just the fact that you look at a company, I don't know, like Amazon, which from its last earnings right over here, I mean, right now it's only down 20%, but made a 30% decline. If we look at something like Tesla, which literally has earnings tomorrow, from Tesla's last earnings report, currently it's down 32%, but at the lows it was down 40%. So many of and we're talking about like the big names. Look at some of these small caps, mid caps, which lost a lot more than that. Are those types of moves justified? And even if they were justified because of a potential bad earnings on some of these names, will it even matter? Because a lot of people can argue that it was already priced in. Only time's gonna be able to tell. Whenever it comes to like, all those like sayings like buy the rumor, sell the news, and all those different sayings that a lot of traders like to use. At the end of the day, it's always in hindsight, so you have to wait until it actually happens to be able to say stuff like that. But it's something that I am starting to think about, and yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that for the next week. The QQQ is testing a resistance here though, as a gap fill, and then this previous low from March of 2021 and this high from September of 2020. So it is a big short-term make or break area. And again, this could just set up a little bit of a, if we go down to lower time frames, a little bit of a continuation. Maybe you get another dip and then you just go higher. You just want to see a higher low being placed. It even kind of looks like a three rising valleys to me on the 4 hour, which is a little bit different than the daily bear flag. So that's the QQQ. The NASDAQ is pretty much the same exact thing. I think it's potentially breaking out a little bit earlier though, and it has less resistance, which kind of doesn't make sense, but that's what it looks like to me. And it does have this gap fill. I have it charted on the 1 hour. Gap fill around 11,752. All right. So you're going to be testing that. That's going to be a key level to watch tomorrow morning, how we react to this gap fill level. If you break above it, then the next level for the NASDAQ is like 11.9K. And that's the NASDAQ. The ARK ETF is retesting a breakout of this range. It's been in between 35 and 47. I actually did play calls on this fake out and it burned me a little bit, but I will be looking at it again. You can see my alerts already set up. This is a key level for the ARK ETF. This represents a lot of mid caps and growth stocks, a lot of those post-COVID crash plays kind of in this name. Keep an eye on them if it gets above this level. And then finally, for small caps, the Russell 2000 has broken out of this triangle to the upside. You've now bounced off of this zone 3 times in a row. This zone used to be resistance, and it was held for the last month multiple times. You've got this gap fill all the way up at like 183 on the Russell 2000. Broke out of your 1 hour range between 166 and 177. And the 4 hour, look at that like dragon pattern back test, and then also the break above this key level over here. A lot of different formations taking place. So those are my thoughts on the overall market. Let's talk about the swings now. All of them are currently up except for one that's flat. So this is the sheet currently. It's the best it's looked in a very long time. Of course, obviously it's thanks to the market, but most of these swings were shared before the market started rallying this week, right? So all of these swings were shared throughout the last several weeks, which is what set them up to be all in the green right now. So let's talk about how the swings are doing. So it started with Fisker flat again to it's like 2 days in a row it's flat. Looks like it's just consolidating. It's kind of like back testing at the same time. If you look at this 4 hour area, this area that was resistance is now retesting as support. So it's testing that. On the 1 hour, really nothing has changed. You kind of had that inverse head and shoulders breakout, but not much follow through after. So it's just kind of back in this little range between $9 and $9.71, like this range over here would like to spend some time. You can see it even kind of flipped in between them, like right over here as well. So that's really where you're at on Fisker. Nothing too much has changed. It was a pretty flat day. CLOV was up 6% today. And if you watched last night's stream, well, we talked about this. And it's pretty nicely developed. It continued to develop today, but you had this cup and handle forming on lower time frames. We also talked about this last week, the bull flag. If you watched last week's streams, it kind of played out very quickly and then you reset. So CLOV is testing this resistance level around 265. If you break above that, there's not much resistance to like 280-ish in these highs at the end of May. So something that on the low time frames I'm going to be keeping an eye on, this cup and handle breakout test. And apart from that, very nice recovery day, because yesterday you had a great morning, but then if you remember, the market got destroyed in like the afternoon, or it pulled back in the afternoon, and then it kind of closed with like this bearish looking candle, but just immediately got invalidated with a nice follow through green day, or opposite green day, which was nice to see. And the CLOV swing is currently up about 10% since the entry. So this also cannot be a losing trade. Worst case scenario, it falls back to the entry and I'll just mark it a break even. SHAK didn't really move today. Really no technical update. The swing's up about 10% as well. This can't be a failed trade. Worst case scenario, it's going to be a break even. It's going to be a little bit interesting if it does backtest though, because this could also be regarded as a support. It was a previous resistance. Uber flat today, but it is out of the wedge. The stage is pretty much set, just looking for the price action at this point. The Uber swing's up 4%. Best Buy was up 4% today. The swing itself is up almost 9%. And I like how it took out this resistance level around 75. That's pretty big, because then I don't see much resistance till around 79, which is this gap fill. So good start for the Best Buy swing, another one that's broken out. And then finally SOFI, which hit the first target yesterday. Pretty much is retesting this resistance level from this low over here. That was the high of the day yesterday, pretty much the high of the day today as well, so it's kind of like the critical zone for SOFI. So those are the swings. Let's talk about GameStop and AMC really quick. GameStop is testing a breakout of this range. It's been in for a really long time. I did try to place some GameStop calls in the morning. I think I broke even on them pretty much. I was up at the highs, but I didn't really take profits. Then I was down here, and then I broke even like over here. But I think we talked about this cup and handle last night on stream. If you were up, right at the open, did make a nice move right off the handle, or the neckline breakout of the cup and handle. And this is kind of what the 1 hour looks like. You can see all this resistance here. It's trying to break above that for the first time in a very long time. So I'm keeping an eye on that. And then AMC also had a nice morning, but then pulled back later in the day. This is kind of back testing the $16 level breakout. You can see it broke above this level, and now it's falling back into the level, retesting it. So we'll see how that reacts to that level tomorrow. Netflix had earnings today. After hours, it's up, I believe. Let's go to the 4 hour. There you go. So after hours, it's up about 8%. Kind of looks like one large double bottom. And if we go back over to the daily, so it's already up like 8%, so it's already higher after hours. But if we really zoom out here, I mean, there's not a lot of resistance here, and you did have two major bottoms at this low. So I don't know, I didn't really read the report, but interesting move. And then of course tomorrow Tesla has earnings. It's kind of been in between 620 and 800 for like 2 months. So we'll see how those affect the market as well, because Tesla can move the market for sure. And yeah, that's my analysis for today. Look at OMI chart, you'll be surprised. And then me tenderfoot saying champ, you showing your genius. I wouldn't say genius, but my hard work, I guess. Alright, yeah, so let's do ticker requests. Drop them in the chat if you want me to look at any stocks or cryptos or whatever. And yeah, nice move right off the support. I know we were looking at this last week, maybe once, or maybe the week before, I can't remember. We were looking at it when it was double bottoming at the support. Nice bounce. It was up 8% on the day. Also taking out this resistance at, well, whatever that number is. I'm just going to chart a few more levels here for next time we pull up this chart. So those are some more levels. But yeah, it is a pretty hectic chart. Appreciate the love, D. You're saying, I never stop learning, watching streams. Glad to hear that. I try my best. So let's take a look at some of these taker requests. Make sure to hit the like button if you didn't already. Hit the subscribe button. Join the Discord. The link's in the description. If you want to join Premium, Why does NVIDIA have a crypto? Wait, what? What is this? Why do all these stocks have cryptos? Alright, I have no clue what that is, but I just never knew that. So let's go back to all. That was weird. Alright, Revlon. Let's just clear all of this. It's a very crazy chart. These are your big levels, and yeah, it's really a 50-50 here. I mean, maybe you can look at it like this, a little bit of a triangle forming. It's kind of at the apex of the triangle, hasn't really broken out to either side yet, but not much I can do apart from that. NVIDIA, nice move. We talked about this breakout recently. It's making a nice move after the breakout. I'd say you have a little bit of resistance here at like 173.3. Then you've got this gap fill and previous support around just under 181. Also, that lines up with the low from July of 2021. So those are your levels. If it does pull back, you have a gap fill to the downside over here on 158, a little bit above it, or a little bit under 158. And yeah, nice volume on the breakout as well. Highest volume you've seen since like the beginning of June, which is when it was, let's see, up over here. So nice move on the breakout. AVCT kind of broke out of this little, it's a large channel into a medium channel into a small channel. It kind of broke out of the small channel. If you really look at this short term, I'd say, you know, you want to hold like 25 cents, and then resistance is around like 32 cents, but it's another hectic chart. So that is AVCT. And yeah, any other ticker requests, let me know. Only one option alert today in premium, which was puts. Unfortunately, did not work out clearly. It was actually QQQ puts. Let me just give you the timestamp. It's really not much to review here. It just didn't work out. Let's take a look at the timestamps on it. So I alerted QQQ puts at 11:19, and then they failed, or I marked them red at 1:34. So pretty much alerted the puts here. It ended up consolidating for about an hour, then it broke above, consolidated again, and then right when it broke this little second consolidation range on this candle, pretty much right over here, is when I marked them a failed trade. And the reason for that is if we go over to the 30-minute time frame, that breakout was pretty much this breakout above this resistance from these highs over here. So, you know, it wasn't a good trade, but the stop did help because it ended up going higher after, well, this is where they were marked red, and this is what happened right after they were marked red. So, yeah, a little bit of a not great start, or at least the last two trades. I mean, you can take a look, but these are the last 25 option ideas I've alerted. The bottom three are from this week. So, kicked off the week yesterday morning with the over 1,000% potential profit on puts, and then shared some calls yesterday. Those failed, and then shared some puts today. So it's kind of like, you know, I did the opposite on the last two trades, but really, really good trades before these last. This is the first time in 25 trades that there's been back-to-back losers. So hoping for the comeback at some point soon. And yeah, again, you know, most of these gains are much, much larger than these losses. And again, this was on the lottos. So, you know, these are traded very differently than, you know, much more further out expiration and everything else. You know, position sizes have to be adjusted to like the length of the contract's expiration and everything like that. So that was really it for today. Just kind of kept the light after that, and that's where we're at. So yeah, what's up, the guy in the chat saying green sheet vibes. Weekly sheet is looking pretty nice right now. So that's going to be it for the stream. I'm not sure. I believe ticker requests will take some time to be up tonight, but they will be up tonight. So keep an eye out for those. If you want to join the Discord, which is free to join, the link's in the description. We just also revived the ETF simulator, which is basically us managing this fake ETF for all of you with a lot of analysis and whatnot. There's the swing alerts, the crypto alerts. You can get a notification every time I go live, and a lot of other cool stuff in the chat. It's a lot of other really smart people sharing a lot of good knowledge. So check all that out. If you want premium, the sale is this week. I haven't done a sale on premium since February, like an actual sale. So this is the sale. If you've been, waiting for a sale or something, this is the time. 15% off, I think. Let me just make sure. I feel like I forget things. Yeah, 15% off your first subscription. Annual is already 30% cheaper, so you get 15% off on top of that. Use code July at checkout. The link's right over here in the Discord or the pin chat or in the description. It's kind of everywhere. So if you're interested, there's that. Thank you for watching the stream. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. There's so many things I have to say at the end of the streams, but yeah, thank you for watching the stream. Have a good night. Peace out.